You think you understand that life is short. But you don't. Not really. Not in a way that changes how you live. Because if you truly understood, if you really grasped the brevity of existence, you'd live differently. You'd choose differently. You'd spend your time differently. The problem isn't knowledge. You know you're going to die. Everyone knows this. It's the most certain fact of existence. But knowing and understanding are different. Knowing is intellectual. Understanding is visceral. Knowing is abstract. Understanding is urgent. Knowing sits in your head. Understanding changes your life. So let's make it visceral. Let's make it real. Let's turn knowing into understanding. If you're 30 years old and you live to 80, you have 2,600 weeks left. That sounds like a lot. It's not. That's 2,600 Mondays. 2,600 chances to wake up and do something meaningful. 2,600 opportunities to live according to your values. And every week that passes is one fewer week remaining. If you're 40, you have 2,080 weeks. If you're 50, you have 1,560. If you're 60, you have 1,040. These aren't abstract numbers. These are your remaining weeks on Earth. This is how much time you have left to do everything you're going to do. To become everything you're going to become. To experience everything you're going to experience. How many of those weeks will you waste? How many will you spend distracted? How many will you trade for money you don't need? How many will you sacrifice to fear? How many will pass while you wait to start living? Every week you waste is gone. Spent. Deleted from your remaining total. You started with roughly 4,000 weeks. Subtract your age in weeks. That's what you have left. Maybe, if you're lucky. If you don't die young. If disease doesn't cut your time short. If an accident doesn't end it abruptly. You're not guaranteed those weeks. You're just assuming you'll get them. And maybe you will, but maybe you won't. People die young every day. People with plans. People who thought they had time. People who were waiting to start living. They just ran out of time before they began. Seneca wrote extensively about this. About how people waste time as if it's infinite. As if they'll always have more. As if death is something distant and abstract rather than something approaching with every breath. He watched people spend decades accumulating wealth they'd never enjoy. Building careers they'd never complete. Planning lives they'd never live. And then they died. Surprised. Unprepared. With so much left undone. With so many words unsaid. With so many dreams unrealized. Not because they didn't have time. Because they wasted the time they had. He described people who would defend their property fiercely. Who wouldn't let anyone steal even the smallest possession. But who let anyone steal their time? Who gave it away freely? Who let it be taken without protest? They valued their money more than their lives. Their possessions more than their time. They were misers with coins and spendthrifts with days. This is insane. Money is renewable. Time isn't. You can make more money. You can't make more time. Losing money is recoverable. Losing time is permanent. A stolen possession can be replaced. A stolen hour is gone forever. Yet you protect your money and waste your time. You guard your possessions and give your days away. You're careful with resources that don't matter and careless with the resource that determines everything. Why? Because death feels abstract. Because time feels infinite. Because you can't see it disappearing. Money leaves your account and you notice. Hours leave your life and you don't. You can track your bank balance. You can't track your remaining time. So you pay attention to one and ignore the other. But time is disappearing. Right now. This moment. While you read this. While you breathe. While you exist. Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back. Every minute is permanent loss. Every hour is irreplaceable. And you're spending them constantly. Whether you pay attention or not. The average person spends 15 years watching television. 15 years. Not 15 years of leisure time. 15 years total. Hours sitting in front of a screen. Watching other people's lives instead of living their own. That's 13万以前. Hours they could have spent learning, creating, building, connecting, living. But they spend it watching, consuming, existing, rather than living. The average person spends 5 years on social media. 5 years scrolling, comparing, consuming content that doesn't matter. 5 years of their limited, precious, irreplaceable life given to apps designed to steal their attention. 5 years they'll never get back. 5 years of potential traded for nothing. The average person spends 6 years waiting. In lines, in traffic, for appointments, for other people. 6 years of their life spent in transition, in delay, in the gap between things. Not living, just waiting to live. Add it up. 15 years watching TV, 5 years on social media. 6 years waiting. That's 26 years. More than a third of an average life. Gone. Wasted. Spent on nothing. On activities that create no value. Build no skills. Foster no growth. Create no meaning. Just time passing while life disappears. And this doesn't include work you don't care about, obligations you resent, activities you don't enjoy, relationships that drain you, all the other ways you spend time on, things that don't matter while postponing things that do. Most people spend most of their lives on things they'd eliminate if they knew how little time they had. They'd cut out the trivial if they understood the tragedy. They'd eliminate the meaningless if they grasped the cost. They'd stop wasting time if they truly understood that time is life and wasting it is dying slowly. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He would imagine his time as a finite resource, would visualize it depleting, would see each day as precious because it was one fewer day remaining. This wasn't morbid. It was realistic. It was honest. It was seeing clearly instead of pretending. He would ask himself, is this worth my life? Because that's what you're trading. When you spend an hour, you're trading an hour of your life. When you spend a day, you're trading a day of your existence. The question isn't, do I have time for this? The question is this worth my life? Most of what you do isn't. Most of your activities wouldn't pass this test. Most of your habits would disappear if you asked whether they're worth your life. Most of your obligations would be declined if you recognized you're trading life for them. But you don't ask. You just do. You fill your time with whatever appears, whatever's asked of you, whatever's easy or habitual or expected. You let your life be consumed by things you'd never consciously choose if you stop to think about what you're trading. Stop, think. What are you trading your life for? What are you spending your irreplaceable time on? Is it worth it? Is it what you'd choose if you knew you only had a year left? If not, why are you doing it? The answer is usually that you don't think about it. You're on autopilot. You're living by default rather than by design. You're letting your life happen to you rather than actively choosing it. And so you waste it. Not because you mean to, because you're not paying attention. Epictetus taught that every moment presents a choice. You can accept it or resist it. You can use it or waste it. You can live it or let it pass. But you can't avoid choosing. Inaction is a choice. Passivity is a choice. Going through the motions is a choice. You're always choosing. The question is whether you're choosing consciously or unconsciously. Most people choose unconsciously. They react rather than respond. They follow patterns rather than make decisions. They live by habit rather than intention. And so their lives become a series of unconscious choices that lead to an unconscious life. And they wonder why they feel empty, why nothing feels meaningful, why they're going through the motions without really living. Because they are going through the motions. They're not actually living. They're existing. They're passing time. They're waiting for life to start while life is ending. And by the time they realize this, most of their time is gone. Don't let this be you. Don't spend your life unconsciously. Don't waste your time on autopilot. Don't let your days pass without choosing them. Wake up. Pay attention. Choose consciously. Live deliberately. This requires effort. It's easier to coast. Easier to follow the path of least resistance. Easier to do what's expected. Easier to live like everyone else. But easier isn't better. Easier just means you're not paying the cost now, but you'll pay it eventually. When time runs out. When you realize what you wasted. When you face the life you didn't live. That cost is much higher. The cost of regret. Of knowing you had time but wasted it. Of recognizing you could have lived differently but didn't. Of facing death, knowing you never really lived. That cost is unbearable. And it's the cost most people pay. Because they chose easier now instead of better always. Seneca described people on their deathbeds realizing too late that they'd wasted their lives. Realizing they'd spent their time on things that didn't matter. Realizing they'd postponed what was important. Realizing they'd never actually lived. And the tragedy wasn't that they died. Everyone dies. The tragedy was that they'd never lived, that they'd existed for decades without really being alive. They had the same amount of time as everyone else. They just spent it poorly. They chose poorly. They lived unconsciously. And when time ran out, they realized what they'd lost. Not what they didn't get, what they wasted. This is the real tragedy of a short life. Not that it's short, but that most of it is wasted. Not that you don't have enough time, but that you don't use the time you have. Not that death comes, but that life was never really lived. You can avoid this tragedy, but only if you wake up now. Only if you recognize that time is finite and start using it wisely. Only if you stop postponing and start living. Only if you choose consciously instead of existing unconsciously. This requires brutal honesty. You have to look at your life clearly. See how you're actually spending time. Not how you think you're spending it. Not how you'd like to be spending it. How you're actually spending it. Track it. Measure it. Be honest about it. Most people can't do this. They don't want to see. They don't want to know how much time they're wasting. They don't want to face the gap between how they're living and how they want to live. So they avoid it. They stay unconscious. They keep wasting time because looking at the waste would force them to change. But you can't change what you don't acknowledge. You can't fix what you won't see. You can't improve how you use time until you're honest about how you're using it. So look, honestly, clearly, without judgment. Just see. Where does your time actually go? What are you actually doing with your days? Not what you wish you were doing. What you're actually doing. Write it down. Every hour. For a week. See where your life is going. Then ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this worth my life? Is this how I'd spend my time if I knew I only had a year left? If the answer is no, change it. Not someday. Now. Today. Because tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And every day you postpone is a day you've wasted. This is where most people stop. They see the waste. They recognize the problem. They know they should change. And then they don't. They go back to their patterns. They return to their habits. They keep living the same way. Because changing is hard. And not changing is easy. Even if not changing means wasting their life. Don't stop here. Don't see the problem and do nothing. Don't recognize the waste and continue wasting. Don't acknowledge you're living wrong and keep living wrong. Act, change, choose differently. What would you do if you had 1 year left? What would you prioritize? What would you eliminate? Who would you spend time with? What would you create? What would you experience? What would you say? Do that now. Don't wait for the diagnosis. Don't wait for the crisis. Don't wait until time is visibly running out. Pretend it is. Act as if you have a year. Live accordingly. Because you might have less. You don't know. Nobody does. This isn't about being reckless. It's not about quitting your job and traveling the world on credit cards. It's not about abandoning responsibility. It's about aligning your life with your values. About spending time on what matters. About living according to what you'd choose if you knew time was short. Maybe you'd spend more time with family. Do that now. Maybe you'd work on a creative project. Start today. Maybe you'd have difficult conversations. Have them this week. Maybe you'd take the trip you've been postponing. Book it. Maybe you'd tell people you love them. Tell them today. Don't wait. Don't postpone. Don't save it for later. Later might not come. Do it now while you can. While they're alive. While you're alive. While there's still time. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that everyone around him would die. His friends. His family. His children. Not to be depressed. To appreciate them. To not take them for granted. To use his time with them well. Because he knew that time was limited and later might be too late. He was right. Some of his children died young. Some of his friends died unexpectedly. Some of the people he loved were gone before he could say everything he wanted to say. But he didn't have as much regret as he could have. Because he didn't take them for granted. Because he was present. Because he lived like time was limited. Because it was. You have people in your life right now who won't be here in a year. Maybe they'll die. Maybe you will. Maybe circumstances will separate you. Maybe relationships will end. You don't know who. But someone won't be here. Someone you love. Someone important. Someone you're taking for granted. Don't take them for granted. Don't assume they'll always be there. Don't postpone telling them what they mean to you. Don't wait for the right moment. This is the right moment. This is the only moment you're guaranteed. Use it. Tell people you love them. Tell them specifically what they mean to you. Tell them what you've learned from them. Tell them what you appreciate. Don't assume they know. Don't save it for their funeral. Tell them while they can hear it. While it can matter. While there's still time. This feels uncomfortable, vulnerable, unnecessary. They know you love them. Right. Maybe, maybe not. But even if they know, hearing it matters. Knowing specifically what you appreciate matters. Feeling valued matters. And doing this while they're alive matters infinitely. More than doing it when they're gone. Seneca wrote letters to his friends where he expressed his appreciation, where he said what they meant to him, where he articulated why their friendship mattered. Not because he was dramatic. Because he understood that time was limited and he wanted them to know before it was too late. Some of those friends died before he did, and he had no regret about what was left unsaid. Because he'd said it. He'd expressed it. He'd told them while they were alive. He didn't have to wonder if they knew. They knew, because he told them. Do the same. Write the letter. Have the conversation. Express the appreciation. Don't wait. Don't assume there will be time later. There might not be. Do it now while you can. This applies to everything, not just relationships. Everything you're postponing. Everything you're saving for later. Everything you're waiting to do. Do it now, while you can. While there's time. While it's still possible. That trip you want to take. That book you want to write. That skill you want to learn. That risk you want to take. That change you want to make. That dream you want to pursue. Don't save it for someday. Someday might never come. Do it now. This year. This month. This week. Not perfectly. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you're ready. Now. Messily. Imperfectly. Scared. Uncertain. Unprepared. But now. Because later might be too late. Epictetus taught his students to act as if every action might be their last. Not to create anxiety. To create urgency. To ensure they didn't postpone what mattered. To make sure they didn't waste their remaining time. To guarantee they had no regrets about what they left undone. If this conversation might be your last with this person, how would you have it? If this day might be your last day, how would you spend it? If this year might be your only remaining year, what would you do? Act accordingly. Not because these things are definitely true, because they might be. And acting like they might be ensures you don't waste what might be all you have. This creates a life without regret. Not because everything goes perfectly, but because you didn't postpone. Didn't wait. Didn't save living for later. You lived now. You acted now. You chose now. And when time runs out, whenever that is, you'll have fewer regrets because you didn't waste the time you had. Most people's biggest regrets aren't what they did. They're what they didn't do. The risks they didn't take. The words they didn't say. The dreams they didn't pursue. The life they didn't live. The time they wasted waiting to start. Don't let that be your regret. Don't die wishing you'd lived differently. Don't waste your life and then regret the waste. Live now. Choose now. Act now. So that when time runs out, you can face it knowing you lived. Not perfectly, but fully. Not safely, but authentically. Not as long as you wished, but as well as you could. This is the antidote to the shortness of life. Not more time. Better use of the time you have. Not longer life. Fuller life. Not avoiding death. Living well before it comes. Seneca said we have enough time. We've always had enough time. The problem isn't the length of life. It's what we do with it. We waste most of it. We let it be stolen. We give it away. We spend it on nothing. And then we complain we don't have enough. But we had enough. We just didn't use it. We had time for what mattered. We just spent it on what didn't. We had the opportunity to live fully. We just chose to exist partially. Stop choosing partially. Stop existing instead of living. Stop wasting the time you have wishing you had more. You have enough. You've always had enough. Use it, now, today, this moment.